Yeah.
Did the work for him. I done work for him on some other project.
He told me he opened that because his wife wanted a coffee shop, but he's in there an awful lot.
Well, she goes over to Thailand a lot.
Yeah.
He wanted to keep her busy, so he spent all his money building his coffee shop. That's kind of randy.
Have you gone to that food place that's tucked in, right next, is it right next to it or down the street somewhere in Sutton's Bay? It's pushed in. You have to, it's like a half a building back in the.
Oh, across from the village inn there?
Yeah.
There's another coffee shop there.
Yep.
Well, they say they're open for breakfast and lunch too, for
Oh,
sandwiches or something.
Trivia tonight.
Maybe yes, maybe no. Kathy is, she's been out all day and I've been out all day.
That make it?
We might do it.
No.
You gonna go? You're gonna be there? Well, then we
You ready?
have to.
Yep.
Okay. Call this meeting to order. I'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Steve's on the phone, Mr. Chairman, he'll be right up.
Alrighty?
Should I say here in place of him or not?
Yep. There he is right there. Roll call, please.
Mr. Behrens?
Here.
Mr. Christensen?
Present.
Mr. Frerichs?
Here.
Ms. Leather?
Just made it.
Absent. Mr. Newman?
Here.
Mr. Popa?
Here.
Mr. Travis? Absent. Mr. Wessel?
Here.
Mr. Walter?
Here.
Mr. Yeomans? Absent. So we have 7-3.
Any public comment? Nobody's here. Agenda additions or deletions?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
I think we ought to add those official in the minutes that we transfer or allocate $2,000 to the preparation of our grant.
Okay, do you want to do that under the trust fund grant item? What is it, it's like 4B or something?
Yeah,
I put it on there just in case there was something you needed.
that makes sense, yep.
Anything else? Can I get a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? We've got an agenda. Okay, moving on to the action items, approval of minutes. Minutes from October 16th, 2019.
Move to approve the minutes of October 16, 2019. Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Minutes are approved. Minutes from October 16th, 2019.
Move to approve minutes of October 16, 2019, regular session.
Support. Motion by Ty, approved by Steve. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, we got January 8th, 2020, organizational session.
Did I see those?
Those are the ones, did you not?
They
see-
all went out.
They all went out, okay.
Okay, then I read them. If you sent something, then I read it.
And you said I did a great job. So-
That's right.
I saw that email too.
I saw that.
You saw
Yeah,
it?
you responded.
You gave it a compliment.
It was
You
very-
guys see it all when I hit
It was
respond?
like the next
I
day.
didn't hit respond all. I'm just getting her.
So make a motion.
I make a motion that we approve C and D.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? And that's all approved. All right, moving on to the financials. Scott.
Financials, we closed out at 66,
.8.
What is killing our contractual services allocation? It's double what we've allocated for.
I can't answer that with what I have in front of me.
Okay.
Where do you see that?
Contractual. I know that we bumped that up, or intended to bump it up, but I don't know for 20.
I'm guessing it's porta potties have gone up.
Okay.
Which
I
one
can
are
look
you
into it.
talking about?
Oh, about in the middle of the page.
801.
Okay. Would we allocate some money for the grub, or the grub shack? Did we identify that for a project?
That was gonna be out of our capital outlay.
Yeah.
I guess maybe just look into that a little bit if you could. That was my only question.
Is
This year.
that the line item that we would pay for our consultant for?
Assume so. It's a contractual.
That's a good point. That might have came out of there. I'll find
The
out.
5,000 or whatever we paid.
Yeah. It would be trash.
Yeah, which, I mean, I was just wondering what one increase
That's
that
not
much.
gonna go
was.
fast.
But your tie is right, that probably all came out of that.
Contract with dozens of that.
Either way, I'll find out.
Any other questions on the financials? Hope that we spend some more money this year.
We will.
Well, with me being out, I saved 6,500 wages, so.
Get yourself hurt again, that'll help
Where
us.
does the excess go?
What's that? It gets rolled back into the general fund.
We don't
Did,
know.
did we end up rolling over money for the?
That
didn't work. Okay.
I think they would acknowledge our,
Correct, Laurel?
Correct.
Yeah, there was discussion yesterday, but it was not
Approved.
approved.
So the 28,000 for the grub shack will be coming out of the $45,000 capital outlay this year.
In 2020.
The 2020 budget.
Right.
not this.
The,
Not this
uh,
one, okay.
One thing that we're trying to see is whether or not the $10,000 that we agreed with the county board to turn back in for the match. We agreed we'd do that 3 years in a row. Is this year 2 or 3? This is year 2. And when you look at it, it just looks like, okay, we sent a bunch of money back into the general fund. You can't park it somewhere, you can't earmark it per se, but could we make a motion to send $10,000 back to the county coffers for the agreed upon amount for compensating for the match for the grant? Should we be making a motion, something like that?
For 2020?
Well, I mean,
Well, we've already done 2 years.
this is already done.
So it's after the fact.
It's after the fact that we're looking at the financials from 19,
Right.
right?
We said that,
So in looking at the financials for 19, we noticed that we did send that money back, but it might not appear anywhere. Can we make a motion to have it appear in these minutes that we did that?
I think we need to have Michelle sit down with us, because it was clear yesterday that Michelle and Chet and Will all said, oh, that money, that never happened. So we don't have any money set aside in the general fund. Now, whether it's possible to reconstruct that, I don't know, but.
Yeah, because we have made a motion in the last 2 years that we set aside $10,000.
We were conscious of making sure the money was there
Correct.
to do
And
that.
Yeah, and it rolled back
How
into the general fund, but
it
there's
went
no,
back.
right, there's no accountability on that side to show that that actually happened.
And how that is structured, I don't know.
But I think Casey's right that we have
There should be motions in our
entertained a
minutes.
firm motion that's in the minutes that we intended to do that for each year's budget, so we should probably do it again. for 2020. That it is.
So we can,
It's
it's
really being done mostly to get it in the minutes. As opposed to-
exactly, it has
as
to show
opposed to
somewhere.
recommending.
It won't show there, but if we can show it here.
And the way I understood it, right, is that it won't show up there. There's no way of showing that Parks and Rec generously gave back $10,000.
Yeah,
They
well,
can't.
I make a motion that the minutes show that we, as the Parks and Rec Commission, sent $10,000 back into the county coffers in 2018, and we sent $10,000 back into the coffers in 2019 to fulfill our obligation with the County Board of Commissioners to satisfy the agreement for a match for the grant application.
That's a long motion. But it sounds perfect. Got all the words in it.
Yeah, it sounded all right. I'll second it.
Do you have it all?
So you're just making a statement to the board that you set aside, you're not recommending the board set aside another
We,
10,000 this year?
the wording should be, we sent that money back to the county
2 years.
So
in
you're not
2018, and we
set
sent that
aside
money back to the county in 2019,
And 18?
18 and 19.
And our plans for 20 are,
Let's vote on this one and
Well,
then I'll throw
I
the
see.
motion up. for
We can,
vote.
move. Yeah, we can discuss
With the intent,
of it fulfilling the obligation to the County Board of Commissioners for our match to the grant,
Our contribution. to
our
the-
contribution to the match for the grant.
For the MDNR TF grant.
It's been a motion and a second.
I'd like to read that.
motion by Christensen that we as a Parks Commission sent $10,000 to the county coffers in 2018 and 2019 with the intent of the funds fulfilling the county commissioners' request for our contribution towards the match of the MNRTF grant.
That very first sentence, I think Steve, he says, it's a motion
Let the
to
record show.
recognize that we,
Let the record show.
yeah, it was like somehow that, let the record show
Motion
that
to
we
get it.
recognize that we sent.
Let the record show that we did that.
Okay, I like that word. Made a motion to let the record show that. That correction, I'll second it.
Discussion?
Any further discussion? John?
No?
Okay. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries.
I move that we let the record show that the Parks and Rec Commission identified $10,000 from the 2020 budget to be returned to the general coffers to fulfill our, we used the word obligation before, fulfill our obligation to the county commission
As a share of the match.
as a share of the match for the 2020 MDNR TF grant.
Support.
Discussion or questions?
Question,
Yes.
we're not going to transfer that until
Year end. We'll just
Year end.
leave it.
And the motion was to identify it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Anything else under the financials? Or we haven't approved these yet, but any other questions on these? Can I have a motion to approve the financials?
So moved.
Support. We have a motion by Steve, support by Ty. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Financials are approved. Okay, moving on to review of our bylaws. This was a review of the bylaws. There are two new members to review them, everybody to review them, and one of the biggest things is to look at meeting attendance. Ty had brought this up to me at the end of last year when we were doing our appointments, and Kyle has had a hard time making it to very many meetings. I haven't had an opportunity to talk to him. I thought he was going to be here today. I'd like to have him here to discuss it. You know, that maybe there's a time that we can, he's a valuable asset to have on here, but maybe there's a different meeting time that would work better for him, or something, or if he can't, he can't. I know he's obviously a busy guy and his schedule, he doesn't have a lot of control over his schedule, but I don't know if we want to wait until he's here. We carry the option after 3 consecutive missed meetings to terminate him from this board and fill his seat somewhere else, for someone else. Yeah.
Sometime you might feel funny in front of everybody. How does the chair feel to meet with him and talk to him and then report back? He might not show up for another meeting.
Right, that's right.
I like Ty, but
Kyle.
he's Kyle.
I like Ty too.
I like to.
Hi.
I don't like Ty.
He's also on another parks,
Elmo County.
and so, but on our parks committees, is he on one of them?
Miles Kimmerly.
So he's hurting there too.
Well, he's the chair there, so without him making meetings or declaring meetings,
Right. And I know there's a lot of projects there also that
it's gonna really heat up.
are, you know,
I think we just need to replace him. I think you should talk to him and say, Kyle, not Ty, Carl.
no, I can do that. I can give him a
And then
call.
not have him in front here, because
You know, it's up to everybody. I'm fine. with
that's
that.
just my 2
Yeah,
cents.
And that's fine.
I think if the chair meets with him, or 2 of you meet with him or something,
One of his issues is he doesn't have much flexibility on his court.
I know it.
Yeah.
So maybe there is a different time that would work for everybody.
Yep, sometimes he's in Kalkaska, and he doesn't come back till 8 at night,
Yeah.
and he just has a hard time making meetings.
Which is understandable. I just want to give him a fair shot at it, you know, before he kick somebody off, but.
I don't know if he's made,
Yeah, since I've been
2 or
on here,
3
he's
this
only
year.
been at a handful of them.
yeah.
I think that strategy is not bad because we've been able to make quorum.
Sometimes it's
So if we're able
difficult.
to make quorum, waiting one more meeting time frame, and you'll come back and say, yep, he's gonna give it up, or this is the date, can we do it? And then we can get into a cycle of having the chair of the committee declare a meeting. You know, he didn't declare a meeting for that committee since I don't know when, and Melinda didn't declare a meeting for Old Settlers since I don't know when.
Yeah.
So, I'm not gonna be the chair of those committees, so if those chairs aren't calling meetings, then that's a meeting I am not gonna go to. You know, I'm leaving it up to the chairs to run the meetings, and
Absolutely.
I did the chair for this one for a while, so I'm just gonna not be the chair, but, anyway, that's the way it sits.
So you'll talk to,
I'll give him a call and talk to him.
If he suggested some other possible time, I'd be open to that.
Okay.
I mean,
Is
I'm
that
not
I think
wedded
there's quite a bit of
necessarily.
flexibility here.
You can always amend your meeting schedule at any time.
Okay. And I'll make that clear to him that we would be interested in another time, or see if there, you know, if we can get
see
consensus.
if he wants to stay on it. I don't-
Yeah. and
Yeah,
maybe-
that's the
maybe
thing, I think he would,
He might be,
I think he'll be feeling bad and maybe pull the trigger.
yeah, it's very possible.
Have we elected or appointed our committees for this year? Was that
We're
our?
getting
Yeah, that's on the subcommittee appointments number 5.
So, to solve part of the problem, we're just referencing Kyle, is we could today change the committee chair for Miles Kimmerly.
You nominating yourself?
There's 3 other members, and we get a couple of new ones.
Let's give it a hard time.
Let's see what he says.
Yeah.
But you're right.
Getting volunteered.
I was under the table, you notice.
Okay.
Right, we have a lot of work to do at Miles Kimmerly.
Right.
And, yeah, there's a lot of projects there that have been talked about, and this might be a time to get some And especially starting something now, because it takes so long to get everything in order, and maybe in January 2021, we can say, hey, this is a project that costs $40,000.
Get the ball rolling again, and
Yeah.
keep it rolling.
Yeah, okay. Are there any other questions under the bylaws? Did you guys get a chance to review them? Anybody have any questions or concerns or recommendations?
Pretty solid the way it is.
I think the very last page of that is your subcommittee appointments.
Yes.
Because I just borrowed from Will. Yeah, so just use that template.
Okay.
Well, and I'm on all four of them, or all three of those.
Correct.
That's probably not, that might not show there.
Shows you're on 2 of them.
You should show them on all.
The Miles Kimmerly one's open.
He's not on that. I didn't listen to him.
Supposed to be.
Yeah, he's on all of them.
Okay. I'll make a note. Okay, Dave, you're up.
Well, do we need to talk about what committees Don and John are on?
We'll do that under committee appointments, subcommittee appointments.
Okay. And this is the grant part of it?
Yes.
Okay. After, I spoke with Klaus at length last night after the affirmative votes by the county commission. One of the real jobs for the group, for the commission that's going to be in front of us is to tweak these numbers such that the match is 95,000, the percentage stays at 30%, so we're going to have to be decreasing this probably just a little bit, because this was calculated with 100,000 match instead of 95,000.
Who's doing that?
We are.
Klaus and I are going to do it, that's why he's not here today, rather than us, all of us fussing together.
I like that idea.
In the February meeting, I will bring back the tweaked plan that fits 95 match, 30%, 95,000 equally to 30% of the total project. So we have to do a little tweaking here. He is reviewing, Laurel laid this down, this is the guide to the application process. I got 2 of them kicking around, I don't need another one. But he got just, what day is today? Wednesday? Monday. A new weighting, this is brand new in the whole process. An indication of what pieces of the application, collaboration versus match versus all the other little pieces, which ones are going to get weighted most heavily. We've never had that indication clearly before, apparently, from the state. I haven't seen those yet. He has not emailed them to me yet, but he's going to study the weightings so that we do some of this and some of the other steps with the idea that we're headed towards the best target. Another large piece of the work that's yet to be done is really to craft the narrative to go with the application. I'll be doing that again. I mean, I'll take on the initial writing of it based on last year's. I think I learned from how Klaus wordsmithed my first effort. I think I learned a little bit about how to do another first effort. I'll be doing that. Klaus will be wordsmithing it so that our narrative is upgraded. It needs to be written so it really matches each of the, really actually matches much of this in the way it's worded. I guess this fits in here. If you recall, the largest bite we could make, we could achieve for adding points to our initial scoring was in the area of collaboration. I don't have yet from Klaus whether the rules on what defines collaboration has shifted this year, because it shifted a bit on us last year. So I'm presuming that they will stick with what they focused on last year, and that is a commitment by 2 parties over a period of time with money exchanging hands from one party to another to show that at least 2 parties have a stake in the game in the maintenance of a specific part, not the whole grant, but some specific focused agreement that's written on paper that says the county's gonna do this, and some collaborative partner's gonna do this, and they're gonna give us some money. I've got, as of last Thursday, real supportive words from Midge Werner at Bingham Township that they will go along with this, and she's thinking they will approve the $500 that I asked for, rather than a smaller amount.
For 5 years.
For 5 years, 500 each year for 5 years. As of Saturday, the new head of the Leelanau Lake Association got back to me. I had stayed away from them. They're the parent group of our big kids fishing day, so the biggest event in any of our 3 parks. I stayed away from them on somebody's advice that it was dead in the water because they weren't going to, they have enough problems with weeds and everything else in their own lake. They're not going to help us out with our little tiny body of water. That turned out not to be the case. Tom Hyatt of Indianapolis is the new president. He virtually said in our conversation Saturday afternoon, oh, I'll commit to that right now, and maybe even a little, I said a couple $100 from them. The money hasn't been the issue, it's the paper, a document that says these 2 sides agree to this for 5 years. That's what counts to the state. And he said definitely they would be involved, that they would contribute something anyway. He said maybe more than 500, than a couple $100. Well, it doesn't matter. That they're willing, that he said I can commit to that right now. In fact, was very interested in our sharing experiences because they've got to fight big patches of milfoil in the lake. So they've already begun their search around for the proper contractors, the proper procedure, the strategy for taking care of their weeds. In that, he happened to mention something that I think is interesting. I haven't found anything more about it since Saturday. Apparently in Lake Tahoe, they have actually used, in very selected spaces, giant, he said it's like a extra heavy-duty burlap bag that's weighted, stretched, weighted down on the bottom, cuts off the sunlight. And that it's proven to be effective in these small patches on Lake Tahoe. I know nothing about this yet, but we can get to each side of our bodies of water, you know, and almost by hand be stretching out to us. So that kind of sharing of some information has already been somewhat valuable. But it looks like we'll get 2 collaborative agreements. Paperwork is already coming from the Leelanau Lake Association that will be adequate for the April 1st application deadline, because in September we have that window to finalize all of the paper. If we don't get both parties signing a memorandum of understanding by April 1st, we simply need to give indication what that plan is and then provide that paperwork in September. So that looks optimistic, that there's 30 points available there. And that would put us right up at 300, which is kind of the minimum we have to go for. Now, I'm not yet real hopeful. I think we're going to get in a good application, but last year the state didn't give a dime to anybody north of M20, and it's clear again this year they're really focusing on urban areas, and they're all about trail connections. And we aren't connecting to an existing trail to expand a network. So we'll have to see. They have shown some last year, and maybe more this year, a recognition that these Natural Resources Trust Fund monies have bought a lot of property and haven't paid much out for development, for maintenance of those properties. And that's where last year they began to shift a little towards, well, we got to start giving more money to places we've already helped purchase. Now we got to give money to help in the development. So we have some optimism, some reasons to be optimistic. We certainly are on schedule. If I get the narrative work done, Klaus and I get this done, bring it back in our February meeting. There may be, because of the timing involved in getting approval then from the full commission through an executive session, a public hearing, and the final authorizations, whatever it's called, And that'll have to be squeezed in there in March, so it's ready to be uploaded by the end of the last week of March. I sensed we may need to have this group have a special session the last week of February, just to kind of keep it in our heads. That through the February regular session, we may not complete all of this picture. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Have you approached the Suttons Bay Bingham Foundation? Are you part,
I know of it, I'm not part of it.
You know, they make very small grants, but a $500 grant from them would be nice for collaboration.
I did some investigation, and do you know some of this, John? It seems to me I found out they had $6,000 pool to play with, and currently, this year, whatever. I've learned of them. I have not approached them. I spoke with, I think it was Rich Bailey, some about it, but I have not approached them. I'm looking first most strongly with additional grants to help with the match from Cherryland Electric, first of all, and then Rotary Charities. I've never had great experiences with them. I've gone through all their trainings and stuff, and it's always been just rough on me. But the key with those grants is you don't want the money until 2021 at the earliest. So you can't get into the grant cycle too early when you have to start spending the grant money. Their requirements are you start spending the grant money the year it's the cycle that it's awarded. Well, I'll be chasing all the cycle timings down so that we get into it correctly to have those monies, if successful, become available in 2021, not 2020. I've got other stuff I'll report from the park when we get to the park report. That's kind of it for the grant. Unless questions, yeah.
Yeah, the one thing I don't know if we've talked about it at length recently, but our connection to the Leelanau Trail from Veronica Valley is county roads. And I'm not sure how a configuration of a shoulder of a county road would need to look like if it were to be counted as a connection. And I'm not sure, you know, I know that some of the stuff that the county road's been doing recently, they've been adding some width for bicycle traffic. If we could earmark the county road, the shortest county road path from Veronica Valley to the Leelanau Trail, and accommodate a connection parameter that the county road would go along with, and maybe even do over a collaborative period of time, we'd have another collaboration and a connection to a trail.
Does that get us points if you can connect?
I'll bring it up with Klaus. This will be a real appropriate time since he's going over the weighting scale that just came out. I would think something like that would help. Now, if there'd have to be the decision, is the grant going for park development or to this trail connection? I mean, we'd have to decide whether it was a separate outside collaboration and how the monies came, or was it going to be part of the actual grant. And I don't know if there's a difference. You may get more points if that actual trail connection is part of the application job.
You know, it's just an idea.
Yeah.
Well, you can say the trail is, in this case, about 2.5 miles away. So you got plenty of county roads between that trail, and people can ride all over the roads. You drive all over. That park probably has more cars show up to it than they do bikes.
Yeah, I would think so.
But anyway.
I have communicated with the Conservancy about the Meebird Creek Preserve. This was now last year, and this was in the first cycle. And I can't bring back the gentleman's name that I spoke with, but he assured me they had absolutely no plans for development of Beaver Creek because of Veronica Valley. That's where the development would occur
Right.
on our tag, but that wasn't the point. They just felt that it shouldn't have a boardwalk, it shouldn't have a trail, it should remain as it is, this impenetrable wetland. And that the recreational development for that general space would happen at Veronica. Well, that wasn't part of deciding with us, but that's what they've decided with their property. So the answer to the question, was there any trail connection possibility we could work on between the two of us? The answer was no, because they didn't want any at this point in time.
If you'll give me a page, I'll meet with Harry Weiberg from the Bingham Sutton Spade Foundation and see if they'll make a small commitment should we get the grant.
Excellent. Yes, now this was part of Bingham's requirement, and this is what the language I sent off to Chet today, because Chet said, if they agree, then tell me and I'll get our legal guys to do the paperwork first that we know we would approve already, and then I'm going to take it to Bingham. That's scheduled for February 24th. They made it clear that they would want this agreement to be null and void if we failed to get the grant. So I wrote it up that they're actually going to start paying on the weed suppression in 2021. That agreement will go 2021 to 2026. Otherwise, I started thinking about, well, we got to write about, do we pay the money back? How does it get paid back? Under conditions. So I'm just going to start it that way. I'll send you that language that I sent him, which is the kind of stuff I'm looking for in a written agreement.
So do any of the roads that are around Veronica Valley that hook up to the Leelanau Trail, do they have a shoulder at all at this time? I don't think they do.
I drive them all the time, and they've got some sort of shoulder, but it's
Well,
wide and
Valley doesn't.
Yeah, I don't know the
All of
answer
us.
to John's question about
Right.
what constitutes a trail, what the shoulder width has to be. But on 204 out here, it's a beautiful shoulder. It's about 5 foot wide, which is wonderful if you have a road bike and you want to ride on it. But whether DNR or the group we're talking about allows us to call that a part of a trail, I don't know the answer to that.
the thing I see is that this would be a pretty big bite to try to bite off before this April 1st. I just don't see anything like that.
Right,
Because
it's
it would take.
just an idea.
Sure,
And
sure.
it would,
And it may be.
it could maybe fit in with other plans at other times.
Well, and if we fail this year, maybe that's a route we have to go, is to really, if that's the state's focus, the thing is you can't guarantee that this year's focus is going to be next year's focus.
We're only allowed to apply for one grant, or it hampers our chances of being successful if you submit 2 different
You can
grants.
submit 3, you have to prioritize them. You have to let them know, and they don't all have to be from the same category. They can be recreation transport, passport, which is a different set of procedures. And it can be one of these, it can be a combination of those, but you have to prioritize which one you care most about.
Even if it's in the 3 different categories, which is a bummer.
Thanks, Dave, for everything you do on that. Kudos.
Yeah, very much so.
I had no desire to ever learn about grants. This is a big, complicated one. I will say right away that if we're going to go, as a commission, decide to go for recreation passport at Miles Kimberly or something like that, I'll certainly plug in with what I know, but I don't want to be the driving person on it.
And we certainly wouldn't expect that.
Well,
I would expect you to help us out
yeah.
and transfer
I'll
those
share what I
committees.
learned.
Yeah.
Okay, we need a motion for a 2% or $2,000. I mean, Cal, you want to make that motion?
Yes, I move that we transfer or identify $2,000 in our pension contractual services account to be used for the payment of gasoline cruiser.
For the grant app.
Right. Did you get that, Laura?
Thought that was done.
I'll support.
Well, this John Steve brought this up.
Oh, that's
I
right. It
think
was added
brought it
as
up saying
4A,
This
I'm
may
sorry.
just be a good thing to be able to tell Tony at the commission meeting next week even.
That we've allocated the money.
We've allocated that money, we voted on it today, and it's in our budget anyway, but we've voted to allocate it, so that's the purpose.
Okay, I didn't write it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Okay, subcommittee appointments. As I was looking at this, well, I thought Todd was on Old Settlers.
I think he is.
Do I have maybe a park name inadvertently? If you look at the membership there, maybe that's up on Parks membership at the top. I really rushed on doing it, I apologize.
No, I think that's all set, because Ty and Kyle are on there, and Clayton was on there. Correct. So that would have given you your 3 plus Steve makes 4. So Todd was on Old Settlers. Or is on Old Settlers. And then Bob was on Veronica Valley.
Yes.
Correct.
So we need one of these two to take Veronica Valley?
Right, we need one on Veronica Valley and one on Miles. Is there anybody that would like to transfer parks or have a problem with the park that they're on?
I feel good about Veronica Valley, I live right there.
I have no problem with those. Miles.
You guys gotta decide which one you wanna get on.
Wherever I'm needed is fine with me.
The what?
John, do you have a preference?
I'm probably more familiar with Veronica.
Okay.
And I've been out there twice this past week and hiked it. It was fun to see on Sunday the amount of 3 different snowshoers and 2 different cross-country people were using that. And when I was there on Sunday, there was a couple with their dogs, and when I was leaving, there was another couple that was walking their dogs. So
It's a well-used park.
yeah, I'm really excited about different characteristics of that land. You know, the creek and the other areas. We talked about signage last week, but when I was there probably on Thursday, the little ponds were kind of a yellowish color ice, and the sign was there warning people that these ponds are spring fed, and there was open water. And then when I was over on Sunday, the snow had covered a lot of that, and I could say that sign's a good idea. Somebody going through on that, they're a long distance from any other help or anybody down there. So anyway, it was great, and my recent time is taking grandkids either winter or summer to fish, different groups like that. So I had forgotten kind of all the other areas I knew about, and especially the creek. It's a gorgeous creek.
Absolutely.
I've been involved sometimes with different bird things, too, with Kay Charters and different things that she's done. So
Okay, that'd be fine. Is that fine with you?
Pardon me?
You'd be on Miles Kimmerly?
Sure, whatever works.
I know Miles because I play tennis there. My grandkids play soccer there, but Brian is just closer. By the way, I'm doing some work for Tom Hyatt, so if you want a connection there, too. So.
Excellent. Well, we seem to hit it off in that phone call. This again is the president of the Leelanau Lakes Association. He was very supportive. They apparently, this I learned from Pete Taylor, have budgeted each year, I think, some slush fund monies to the kids' fishing day. And since I'm not looking for a great huge amount for this grant application, he just said, oh, I can commit right away, we'll get involved in that. And yes, he's sending a letter indicating that, so that if we don't get both parties to sign by April 1st, we at least have a piece of paper going in saying the rest of this is coming, things like that.
You can still do supplemental finance, right?
Yes.
Instead of calling Don Dr. Furrick, we would call him Chairman Furrick, and he could chair the Miles Kimberly meeting.
Well,
No, this should not happen to a neophyte. Laurel, help me here.
what I,
There must be a precedent somewhere
what
there.
my thought was is that I would wait.
I don't
until
even know
talk
where
to
it
Kyle
is.
Until we made that decision, but if that's all right with you guys.
I also was saying that one of the things we was talking about Miles Kimberly was upgrading the bathrooms.
Mhm.
So if you need drawings relative to those things, particularly we need all those crummy barrier-free requirements.
Yeah.
I can get you through those.
Okay. So do we need a motion to approve that, Laurel, or?
We have a consensus.
Okay. Is it, the changes to this would be Don would be on Miles Kimmerly, John Walter would be on Veronica Valley. Everybody's okay with that?
I'm okay with it.
All right. Moving on to committee reports. Miles Kimmerly. Anybody?
We have that.
Okay. Scott, do you have anything going on out there? Okay. Old Settlers. I don't know if everybody saw the email or not. Got an email from the church group again we're planning on having the concert once again. And for the 2 new members, the Glen Lake Community Reformed Church has put on a concert, it is.
Do not say the B word.
Yeah, a donation concert.
Free will.
Free will donation.
Pass the hat
concert.
kind of thing.
The past 2 summers, and it's a very popular event.
And it's in support of what? Again, I don't remember. I just-
Yeah, there's 2 of them.
Different charities.
Yeah,
They support the food, the food pantry there and the Health Link program there.
yeah, HelpLink and the Empire Area Community Emergency Fund.
I knew it was something like that.
Yeah.
I just couldn't remember.
So, in the last 2 years, the first year they did it, they just went, we okayed them to do it, they went ahead and did it, it was way bigger than what we had anticipated. Last year, we had some rigmarole getting insurance out of them, and then also, from the first year, we decided to get a parks usage policy going, because there wasn't a whole lot for us to stand on. And we got that we haven't adopted it yet as a body, but they did agree to sign it last year. It was bigger than the year before. They drove all over the grass. It's becoming a little bit of a problem. So we don't need to make a decision at this meeting. I just wanted everybody, or we can, but it's up to you. It's up to all of us. But I wanted to make sure that I brought it forward today, and we can put it on the agenda for next month and make a decision.
This would probably be a good time to point out that I didn't get a great large response back from everyone on suggested revisions to the usage policy, so we never actually adopted it. So because we've got some fresh eyes, I can send that out after today's meeting so that you can kind of look it over, and if you have any suggestions on
I think we should put it on the agenda.
For next month.
This is
Let's get
the-
that dang thing approved.
This is what we had talked about putting in place for large events, and then each park would have its own version. Is that how that?
That was on the
It was
donation.
one comprehensive usage policy, and then it addressed individual iterations for the 3 parks.
That's how it was, and
Okay.
I know this group and I love the work they do. And I know there was some issue with the parking, but I think we ought to approve it based upon getting the insurance in place. And early on, let them know we want them back. It's a good community group, and we want those parks to be used. So I would move that we we move forward and say, we'll want you there, we're working on the insurance, but let them advance notice that they're going to get approval if they meet our insurance.
And
But,
other regulations.
so it's not on the agenda today.
That's what I'm gonna say.
Do you want to think about it and add it to February, because there's still plenty of time before the event?
That
Well,
was
it is
my-
on the agenda because we've got Old Settlers Park.
But we had just received this very recently, and
Yes.
I was hoping that we could do it in February, was my hope.
I think we can touch Ty's base by having Ty relay to these people that
Well,
this is,
I'm not the one to relay, but I just remember how.
or Casey, or.
This was a 3-month process last
Is-
year, and it was kind of embarrassing.
Is it possible to suggest to them, I mean, I understand the difference in the beauty factor, but we have more space at Miles Kimmerly.
And in all honesty, in my personal opinion, I was going to be against this being held at Old Settlers. But that's only one person, and we can talk, that's why I wanted to talk about it more in February, but when it was an actual agenda item.
I think it should be on the agenda. Can someone talk to them and say, hey, we're in favor of you guys doing
Well,
this and that?
We have the.
But I
we have
might be
chair
the only
opposed.
one opposed to
We
it,
have
and
the
that's,
chair opposed.
and that's fine, I'm perfectly fine with it.
And I'd like to hear Scott's opinion and this and whatever, and we'll take action. But I think the alternative is, hey, we've already talked to these people and we feel good about it, and they're open to doing it at Miles Kimberly or something. I don't know.
But the objection was the parking, what there, I mean, they didn't.
Oh, it was all
burn-
kinds-
they
it was
didn't-
It's
all
mostly,
kinds
yeah,
of
it's
stuff.
pretty much all parking related, and, you know, it's a very large event for a fairly small
Oh.
area. And you've got, it's quite dangerous with parking out on the road. I mean, there's limited parking, and then you get out on the road, and there's corners on each side, and it's tight there. I think it's maybe outgrown that park. I understand the wanting to use that setting, and I want the parks used. I think it would be better for the event itself to move over to Miles. But
Is that close enough for them to accept that?
It's only 2 miles
Yeah,
away.
right around the
2 miles
corner.
away,
But,
fine.
and, like I said, I am only one person, that's only my personal opinion, I'm not trying to influence anybody here on this board.
I haven't seen it, but if it's, from all I've heard, that big for that small space, then I think it's a valid concern.
What's,
And I'm not saying that I don't want this event in our parks. It may have outgrown its space at Old Settlers, in my opinion.
Well, the one concern I'm thinking of, we've got these wonderful workers who donate their time and efforts, and in some cases, plants to beautify that park. So if there's a way to make sure that all those plantings were protected, whether it's with like a split rail fence or something, that would alleviate a lot of my concerns.
Which was a valid concern.
was the sheriff's department involved last year with directing traffic and whatnot?
And the emergency man, they were not there to direct traffic to my knowledge. They knew about it, and the emergency manager knew about it. But I don't know, I mean, and there's only so much traffic directing you can do. You know,
Park a vehicle on each end of the lights going.
Right, but my biggest concern is the parking out on the road. You get out onto that road, and people don't go very slow around those corners.
That's
And
right.
it's tight, and we even for Old Settlers, there's most of the parking is outside of the park because the inner area is being used as just like this event, and it's becoming an issue there, or a concern, not an issue. But I mean, I would prefer to
I think having it on next month's agenda will be good. I think if everybody can make an effort to get to the park, at least look at it from the street. I don't know, Scott doesn't do very good plowing there this time.
I was going to mention this at the end. I will not be here for next month's meeting. I'm going off family vacation, so I won't be here, but that's my opinion on it.
It sounds like there's not a solution to the parking at Old Settlers.
No, not really.
Other than,
How far is the church parking lot from Old Settlers? Doesn't seem like, to my mind, doesn't seem like it's that far away.
2 miles at the most.
Yeah, I mean, if they
mile
wanted to
and a half.
bus from the,
Yeah, and that might be a possibility as well.
my only feeling of the park itself is that there's a lot of trees on there, in my remembrance, and being there last year and things. And that grass doesn't grow very well there.
Right, and that's what happened last year. They all followed the same path, and they tromped the grass right down to
Yeah.
nothing, basically.
And all the catalytic converters burn the grass and tires.
Yes,
It's
It
hard.
was the best for a while.
That's hard to bring back, I think it could be hard to bring that back in the root system, the trees and the
It's
trees.
terrible out there,
That's
trust me.
that's what I thought, Scott, it was just not,
So anyways,
but maybe busing is a situation.
What's
Yeah,
the
and
possibility if you
that's
cut
very
the
possible.
grass?
You know,
We
the
can-
choice of busing.
We could put that as a caveat.
and this is it's a great thing. It really is. It's just
Change
with
the
that,
venue
with the
size.
parking, it is an issue. What?
Miles Kimberly's got a tremendous amount of space. Good park. But I can see where they'd want to, kind of close to their church too.
Yeah, which Miles Kimmerly is nearly as close to the church as Old Settlers.
It's on Glen Lake, and they watch the sunset over the lake, so.
You know, it's a separate outside organization. The White Pine Stampede always was able to make agreements with the Antrim Beta system, it's not Beta, but with the Antrim dial-a-ride system to provide all the shuttle needs we had between the start and the finish line.
Okay.
We were a one-direction race only, so cars parked at the beginning and in a big school parking lot, how do we get everybody from the finish lines back? So there's some possibilities that maybe this group can find that kind of arrangement for shuttling if there are other parking facilities.
And I just want, and I'm fine with whatever we decide, but I think we're not always easy to work with. You know, we got our insurance requirements, we got our fundraising requirements, we've got our parking requirements, and so I just want us to be conscious of if we have groups that want to do something good, that we don't put up hurdles for them. And we can't do anything about the insurance because we're bound by it. We can't do anything about the parking because we're bound to it. But I think sometimes we have been a little bit difficult to work with.
And after reading this, I agree with Ty. Ty said, I'll move this. What if we said yes, okay, today, even though it's not on the agenda, but we can have a consensus maybe that they can go ahead, apply for their insurance, and they want to get their ball going, for example, I'm just talking.
I think that in light of the fact that I recall a conversation a year ago, and the committee had was wondering why that didn't go to the committee first, you might want to take that into consideration.
I didn't hear.
Basically have a committee, Old Settlers committee meeting.
You could, but like Ty said, it's just difficult working with the government. It's just,
And it is.
we're delaying
and
people
These
another
are things
month.
that are new to us. No, there never used to be these large events in our parks, and it's all something that's new. And each event brings forward a different issue. But it's a terrible situation to deal with. I have felt the same way, but also at the same time, we need to cover ourselves. And make
What
sure-
would we know more next month than we do
We're
today?
talking, this event's at least 6 months away.
The what?
The event, it's in August, right?
What's the difference between this and the Old Settlers picnic?
Quite a few more people.
At Old Settlers or
No,
this one?
at the concert.
And say, yes, we'll let you use our parks. We would like you to consider Miles Kimmerly, which doesn't affect the insurance.
I mean,
We need to have better.
I'm one human being.
I know, we need to have someone watch the highway traffic at both ends. And we just like we do when we pave, we put a guy out there with a flag, slow down, you know, big sign, congested area ahead. And I'd rather see him go to Miles Kimmerly,
think,
but I'd like to have these people say yes. We aren't saying no, because that guy's gonna wait for an answer, so holy.
So, I don't think it'd be good to vote today. I think it'd be good to do some research for next month. I think it'd also be good to have a Old Settlers meeting, committee meeting. I think that's the structure that we have, and to not have this item go through that structure, is a red flag.
Well, Old Settlers hasn't met
And
for,
this guy's out of the country until April 15th, so.
Yeah.
but they haven't,
But
when
he
are those
basically,
settlers meet?
I think he's giving us a heads up for the reason of getting our ducks in a row, giving us some time to get things in order. I can get with Melinda and schedule or tell her to schedule a Old Settlers
Yes.
Committee meeting.
Yes.
And
But you aren't gonna be here next month.
not next month, but.
But you could have a meeting between then and report
Between
back
now and
to
then,
us.
and that, yes, and that.
We wouldn't even have to vote to the following month, which might be appropriate too, because it's 6 months out. He gave us a heads up, and we're doing our homework, which we didn't have the chance to do last time. I know they were here.
They came in June or
They
July.
came, and it was kind of imminent, and I know I wasn't very agreeable that day with them. You know, I mean, we weren't in a very good position to be voting that day either, so I'm glad we have the heads up. And we maybe could be thinking our vote's gonna be not next month, but the following month, which is plenty of time for them. We'll do our homework, we'll all see the site. Scott will think, I'll think, you know, and we'll have an Old Settlers committee meeting and hash things around at that committee meeting, and maybe come up with the hurdles that aren't hard to get over, but we need to put up to be safe and to protect our park.
What's his phone number? Let's call him. Where is he? What country is he in?
You gotta email him,
John, I think you should go there and talk to him.
plan the trip. Okay, that sounds, that's good with me. I didn't have, I met with Laurel beforehand, trying to get some wording switched around in the contract for the Grub Shack remodel, just payment-wise, and get that signed and get it on file, and they'll start, he didn't give me a timeline, but sometime between when the snow goes and
Old Settlers.
have it done. He knows he has to have it done for Old Settlers. And Veronica Valley.
The main thing to bring up now, this is informational, it's not requiring action yet, really has to do with invasive species, both on land and in the water. But clearly from last year's experience with Kids Fishing Day, we're at the point where we have to manage those weeds in the two main fishing ponds. So Lonnie Rodemaker and I, Lonnie's the head of the Kids Fishing Day committee, slowly taking over from Pete Taylor. We've contacted, well, a number of different contractors who do weed
Pay
management.
attention, does he?
Let me say first that I've also been in touch with Heather Hedinger, who's the fisheries biologist or fisheries specialist, whatever that is, with the DNR, and has been involved in the whole management thing. She has expressed that the DNR is fundamentally opposed to chemical treatment in the ponds. But she admitted to me last spring at the fishing day in person that we may be at the point where that's the best option, is some sort of chemical control. Now, we've contacted 3 companies. Only one has, well, all 3 have gotten back to me from the first contact, but 2 of them promised me that by now I would have gotten a ballpark quote based on the information that I sent them. Only one has given us that quote. They've also given me 2 good informative conversations on the phone with their manager. The companies are Savin Lake Services, Aquatic Doctors, and Northern Michigan Aquatics. The first one is Savin Lake Services. The initial ballpark estimate for treating up to 3 times with chemistry the 2 main ponds on immediately either side of the bridge was $2,500. In subsequent conversations, I think we would want to decide that it would go to $3,500 because I think we'd want to choose a bacterial treatment. No, I think it's bacterial. Some treatment after the
Yeast
bacteria. Yeah, it helps the decaying process of the plants. Again, I haven't heard from the other 2 companies, so I don't have verbal quotes, but I'm gonna guess it's gonna be in that $3,500 range that we're headed towards. We need to make a choice about who to go with, and that's why I'm gonna press these other two companies that I've already talked to and say, can you get something back to me, because we don't have to go out for the formal bid process under 5,000, but we need 3 estimates, verbal estimates, is that correct?
Three quotes are good.
3 quotes are good.
Okay.
Now, the one time, let me ask you this question. The one time that I chased something else on this, Chet indicated to me if you've made an effort and documented that to get 3 quotes, but only one of the contractors gets back to you.
And a lot of times, it seems like with our bidding process with this group, we only get one bid or no bids at some point. Like the groomer was a good example. I think we only got one bid on that, so if you show you've made the effort,
Okay.
that's important.
Good. It appears that, well, Saban indicated, well, back to the timing, we need to get on somebody's schedule no later than April 1st. And making some decision before that would be helpful, so that we get on their calendar with this Saban Lake Services. They come out of Hale, over towards the Saginaw Bay area. Yeah, they come out of Hale. They schedule their services. They do work up here. There were 2 other companies that Lonnie talked to said, you're too far away. We don't service that far north. They were both downstate. Saban said, we service that area. We have a number of clients up there, so we schedule a period of time to do all of the servicing in that area. If you fall outside that schedule, if you don't get into that schedule, it's an extra $125 if you need it.
Does that affect the fish and the turtles?
Okay, the reason the DNR is opposed to the chemistry is, well, they're principally opposed to any copper compound because it affects the mucus development in fish, especially in hybrid bluegills, which is what we spend our money on in the stocking. So Heather made it clear, don't do anything to harm your investment, our investment, because we paid about $4,000 or something to put fish in there. Saban says these other 2 places have indicated you have other choices of chemistry that don't have any copper. They're more expensive. Saban indicated that it's possible for us to have 1 treatment in the spring, and we may be satisfied it would be really good for kids' fishing day. Weeds would start to grow back, but that we may be able to get by with our values of just treating it once each year instead of 3 times. If that were the case, then I know Heather Hedinger would say, go ahead. Because she, in talking with her, I did have a phone conversation following up that email too, Steve. I remember her saying, oh, well, just keep it minimal, 1 treatment if at all possible.
So would that 1 treatment be a non-copper?
Yes, it would be non-copper. It would be a little more expensive, hundreds more expensive. That's why I'm really sure we're going to be up in the 3,500 to maybe even 4,000 range, at least for the initial treatment, or the initial year.
If we do the 3.
Yeah. There's some questions to work out there, but I'm just giving you feedback on what I've done because.
Do it 3 times for the first year to knock it back, and then 1 time the next year possibly.
I think
Those kinds of schedulings are possible.
Yeah, if we go with the tall number and then have the people come and talk to us, we can get a real feel for what's going on, and they can give us feedback as we go along. If we say 1's enough, 2's enough, or whatever, they'll let us know, I think, whether we need to do the 3 the first year, which very well could be. But once we get into it, they'll be able to do that.
Yeah, and I've been happy with Saban because they got back to us right away, and then each time I've called and had these 2 long conversations with this Paul Brightheart, I think his name is, and they sent us materials that I have on, I didn't print off, it doesn't matter right now, but it looks like they're a real solid partner in terms of repeat visits and communication with us as to what we want and how to do it. Again, the critical thing, I'll keep pushing on this, because the critical thing is we have to make some decision so we can get on somebody's schedule by April 1st.
Being that we have a very solid partner, instant callback, good rapport, I would highly recommend not to push on the other guys. We don't need them. If they don't get back, they don't get back.
I have the emails, where I contacted them first, and I have both of them responding, saying we'll get back
That's
to
all
you
you need.
right after
That's all you need.
Do you want to make a motion today, so you're on the February board agenda?
Yes. Somebody can make-
Now, can we just make a motion to hire this company, or what's the number?
You're making a recommendation at a cost not to exceed.
And as
And
long
it'll be
as
on
it's
the
less,
county
as long as
board.
it's less than 5, we're good. Why am I not, is that right? 5,000, is that the,
5's the ceiling.
yeah, as long as it's less than that. Okay, so what's the number?
Well,
3,500, not to
the number
exceed?
that has come to us in writing is 2,500, but I know from subsequent discussion with the company, it's gonna go to 3,500.
Well, why don't we
So
say
5 is good then.
4? I make a motion that we make a recommendation to the County Board of Commissioners to hire Saban for a cost not to exceed
Can we go to 45? Because I don't know
4,500.
yet.
Make it,
For aquatic weed eradication?
Yes.
Let's make it to 4,900, 49, right up to the top, because I just don't know how more expensive those non-carbon copper chemicals.
49.
But that saves your $4,000 investment in the bluegills then.
This
Yes.
is one pond or multiple ponds?
I've been referring to them as the 2 main fishing ponds
So just
immediately
one-
either side of the bridge.
I'm just gonna say
Kids
Veronica Valley
kids fishing
ponds.
pond.
Well, if I say Veronica Valley ponds, it's generic enough.
That'd be fine.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
now that's gonna be on a February meeting,
Who was the second?
Dave, I'm sure.
so you gotta prepare one of these.
Probably. But I do all that with Cheryl, or Laurel.
Yeah.
You have that on your computer, don't you?
Oh, it scares me.
It worked fine, she's got it set up perfect.
I need lessons.
I'll come over and show you.
Land-based invasive species, we're really at the edge of losing control over autumn olive. But I've started the communications. This came up when we had this work day last fall, this one teaching day that Invasive Species Network did. They mentioned work bees, so I've got that communication going to sometime, maybe even midsummer, maybe not until next fall. We're going to develop a work bee to hit the autumn olive real hard. And they provide all the technical assistance. The main thing that would really be helpful is the tractor. We have a bucket, don't we, on the truck? To move all of the cuttings, all of the stuff that's cut down to a single space.
Someone else is driving. I'm a little gun shy. No, I'll take care of it.
Well, I've thought and put into some of the 5-year plan, developing a Friends of Veronica Valley. We could have Friends of County Parks. But maybe this kind of work bee is a good step to start moving sort of in that direction. But the effort I'm going to make on terrestrial invasive species will be through Invasive Species Network's work bee. I'd love to get 2. We have some glossy buckthorn that I think I'm going to get some help just getting 4 or 5 of them out of there, because they're allelopathic to frogs and salamanders. And we've got a big one back by the covered bridge. Its roots are right down into that water, and we need to get that one out of there. So that's what I'm aiming for with that issue, invasive species management, because that needs to be attacked regardless of this grant plan. That's where I'm at. That's what I'm thinking about.
Didn't we have a discussion with Bill Watson.
Oh, you know, is this, thank you. Have we heard from the tribe about the 2% applications?
I have not announced that.
They haven't. Okay, so we're still hanging fire on that.
Yeah, Bill Watson put together a 2% for eradication
For automatic eradication specifically.
at Veronica Valley. So, and then we have a lot of connection with the band with regard to Veronica Valley. So,
Bill has a lot of history with them. He's indicated to me that he's had several volunteers come to him to support his specific crew for work specifically in Leelanau County, that they would fund it. I don't know anything more about that, but he has said, well, we'll see what how the 2% app goes, and maybe he could begin to develop this.
well, we had some money. We just sent how much back to the coffers?
45,000.
Well, I'm just wary of.
50.
So I mean, if things fall through, I think we need to pay some money and have this done through that group.
Okay, that means I need to make another phone call, continuing the conversation with Bill.
Yeah, I think
always enjoy, so that's no
yeah, I
problem.
think stay in contact with him, and I'm really anxious to make things happen with his group this coming year. So we need to have his calendar with us on it now.
Yeah.
Final thing, fishing committee wants to put in a commemorative bench for Pete Taylor, so I've communicated our policy, and our committee has to make a choice over what bench style we want, and then we're gonna be good to go.
Sounds good.
Dave, if you get the 2% grant for the Bill Watson project, that's something to put in the grant as a partnership with the tribe on Veronica Valley.
Absolutely. Anything else?
No, I'm done now.
Moving on to the rec plan review. It's almost there.
I walked around here.
I just want to let everybody know, I think,
Last week.
in light of the fact that you're not always reviewing the plan on a regular basis, you might as well just do it as an agenda item every month.
Okay.
You can just pass it on to the next month, but
Look at these different
just
signs.
have it in the back of your mind that that's something you want to keep track of.
And one reason for that is we've tried to craft this one
I'll go back.
a level higher than the previous one, that is, that it gives us a direction that's worth reviewing as we go along over 5 years, saying, yeah, because that's how I got started in this thing, is that first 5-year plan that I was exposed to said, oh, we're gonna chase Natural Resources Trust Fund grants for Veronica. Well, it hadn't happened. And I'd already been here months and months before I ever read that. Oh, okay. That's
And
something.
then you went to the training.
And then I went to the training.
Which Laurel reminded us is short.
It's this month.
If anybody else wanted to do that training in the trust fund, but
Anything else on the rec plan? Public comment? Over here. Commissioner comments, Steve? Scott? Scott? Anybody? John?
I learned something before the end of the day. Allelopathic.
Allelopathic. I knew I said it wrong. Excuse me. Now I've screwed you up for life.
Well, I just memorized allelopathic.
allelopathic.
Yeah, I wrote that down too. Yeah, I never heard that.
You did?
Yeah, yeah.
Is that toxic?
I know how to spell it.
Intoxication?
This is strictly public comment, but
It puts out,
it's something that's poisonous to something. I take it, pathic, right? I got that part, but
You got that
elio,
part. I don't know the first part.
I think it has something to do with the alien next in this case.
John, do you have anything?
There's no,
I'm sorry.
if you plant rye, cereal rye, it's allelopathic to a lot of things, including some weeds. So if you want to clean up your field and have the weeds be down the next year, you can put cereal rye in. It's somewhat alleliopathic. It'll inhibit the seed growth, other seeds. So
Spotted milkweed is alleliopathic to a bunch of things except common milkweed. Milkweed is not poisoned by that,
and then you can talk about, is it, what trees? It's the chestnut or the walnut? Walnut trees are alleliopathic
Yes.
for a lot of plants. So if you have some
things-
walnuts there, I mean, you're not going to be able to grow stuff around them.
Sorry.
Anyway,
I
alleliopathic.
know that because I tried to plant tomatoes on
That's my favorite.
I have a comment because I was reminded when Dave came to the meeting yesterday, how much work he's given to this committee,
Oh,
for the
yeah.
subcommittee,
Right.
and the overall, and
Unbelievable.
thank you.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you for your day's worth of sitting in a long meeting yesterday to get that pushed through. Thank you. And my only comment was that I won't be here for next meeting, so maybe.
be chairman, okay? Okay.
And I'll turn my phone off.
You gotta hold that button down for at least 2 seconds.
Okay.
And then you wanna turn
And we
it
are
back.
adjourned.
Press it
You
again.
tell the new guys about buying beer.
Vibrate in your hand. Get it
No,
out.
no.
We're all going to Dick's now and you're buying.
Yeah, the only two people that have
This one's through.
At least, before